Master the forces that shape your life. Understanding and mastering the forces that shape our lives requires a disciplined approach and involves recognizing the hidden influences on our internal and external experiences, expanding our awareness beyond ordinary, and actively engaging in practices that promote spiritual growth. Modern research and spiritual traditions alike suggest that much of what influences our lives operates beyond the realm of ordinary perception. Mystics, yogis, and occultists assert that life is governed by subtle forces that are not immediately apparent to our sensory and intellectual faculties. These forces can affect our moods, impulses, emotions, and overall well-being, often in ways that seem inexplicable. Modern psychology supports this view by acknowledging the subconscious mind's role in shaping behavior and experience. Cognitive and emotional processes frequently operate below the level of conscious awareness, influencing decisions and reactions. Recognizing these hidden forces is the first step in mastering them. Mystic and spiritual teacher Sri Aurobindo in The Life Divine explains, "If we observe a happening, we judge and explain it from the result and from a glimpse of its most external constituents, circumstances, or causes. But each happening is the outcome of a complex nexus of forces which we do not and cannot observe, because all forces are to us invisible. But they are not invisible to the spiritual vision of the infinite. Some of them are actualities working to produce or occasion a new actuality. Some are possibles that are near to the pre-existent actuals and in a way included in their aggregate. But there can intervene always new possibilities that suddenly become dynamic potentials and add themselves to the nexus. And behind all are imperatives or an imperative which these possibilities are laboring to actualize. Moreover, out of the same nexus of forces, different results are possible. What will come out of them is determined by a sanction which was no doubt waiting and ready all the time, but seems to come in rapidly to intervene and alter everything, a decisive divine imperative. All this our reason cannot grasp, because it is the instrument of an ignorance with a very limited vision and a small stock of accumulated and not always very certain or reliable knowledge, and because, too, it has no means of direct awareness. For this is the difference between intuition and intellect, that intuition is born of a direct awareness, while intellect is an indirect action of a knowledge which constructs itself with difficulty out of the unknown from signs and indications and gathered data. Sri Aurobindo's text is very instructive. He describes the universal play of forces, invisible to ordinary consciousness and accessible only to spiritual vision. However, in modern practices of pseudo-spiritual self-development, it has become popular to selectively attribute inclusive meaning to certain events or circumstances in life, recognizing them as consequences of the actions of specific invisible forces and extolling them. But it is evident that not only selective events, but all events in the universe, even those that seem insignificant to us, are interconnected and influenced by various intersecting or opposing forces. Our ignorance imposes this selectivity on us, stemming from our mental habit of separating and appropriating everything. Tendency to extol particular numbers, signs, or events as evidence of spiritual awakening can actually limit our growth rather than serving as evidence of genuine development. True spiritual development involves cultivating inner wisdom and intuition, rather than seeking constant affirmation from external sources. It is a deep and continuous process of self-exploration, inner growth, and the transcendence of ego-driven attachments. Selective attribution involves assigning deep spiritual significance to specific occurrences, such as seeing a particular number repeatedly, 1111 or 222. interpreting everyday events as cosmic signs or believing that certain patterns hold unique spiritual messages. While these interpretations can provide comfort and a sense of connection to something greater, they can also become a form of attachment that restricts true spiritual growth. In light of this, it is much more important to develop spiritual vision and intuition than to captivate the ordinary consciousness with the play of forces beyond its understanding. However, despite some of my criticisms in this matter, it should be recognized that the object of meditation can be any external object or bodily sensation, just as it can be a symbol or attribute object depending on the practice. But here, our mind needs single-pointed concentration and focus, not distraction of consciousness to search for signs, symbols, and meanings. The modern fascination with numbers, signs, and hidden meanings today is more like a distraction, a craving for seemingly unusual but distracting external phenomena than on the conscious choice of an object for concentration and meditation. Such fascination and collection of impressions may take place in the scientific study of symbols and semiotics or Jyotish astrology, but it has nothing to do with the practical approach of spiritual development. Rather than getting entangled in the superficial allure of external signs and symbolic occurrences, genuine spiritual growth begins with recognizing the vital forces that act from within, subtly influencing our choices and imposing their will upon us. These forces manifest as impulses, desires, and emotions that drive our behavior, often without our conscious realization. By observing these forces, we can begin to see how they influence our decisions and actions. By not giving undue importance to these impulses, we do not allow them from dictating their will. This awareness is essential for distinguishing between our true self and the fluctuations of the forces that limit our consciousness. While managing internal forces is essential, spiritual development also involves opening oneself to higher and spiritual forces. This means being receptive to insights, inspirations, and energies that come from a higher source, transcending the ego and ordinary consciousness. But this desire for higher and spiritual forces should not become an attachment of a biased consciousness to external circumstances or signs. Selective attribution often reinforces confirmation bias, the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information that confirms one's preconceptions. When individuals selectively attribute significance to certain events, they ignore or dismiss things that contradict their beliefs. This biased thinking and the ego's jealous attachment to its beliefs limit personal growth and understanding, trapping people in a self-reinforcing loop of self-deception. Attributing specific outcomes to particular invisible forces can create a false sense of control and understanding. People may believe they have discerned the true causes of events, leading to overconfidence in their interpretations and decisions. Authentic spiritual growth requires a deep and holistic understanding of the self and the forces that influence life. Selective attribution promotes a fragmented and superficial view. This narrow perspective hinders the development of a comprehensive spiritual awareness and the ability to perceive the subtle, underlying patterns that govern existence. Our entire existence is filled with the play of forces, whether noticeable to us or not. These forces can cloud our perception and limit our true potential. Yoga, as a comprehensive spiritual discipline, offers various tools and techniques to help individuals recognize and transcend these lower forces. The practices within yoga, such as asanas, physical postures, pranayama, breath control, and meditation, serve to harmonize the body and mind, creating a state of balance and heightened awareness. Pranayama, or breath control, is a vital aspect of yoga that directly influences the subtle energies within us. By regulating the breath, practitioners can calm the nervous system and enhance the flow of prana, life force, throughout the body. This controlled flow of energy helps to neutralize the chaotic influence of lower forces, fostering a sense of inner peace and balance. Through meditation, individuals can cultivate a heightened state of awareness that allows them to observe their thoughts, emotions, and the play of lower forces without attachment to them, recognizing their true nature. This detachment is crucial for recognizing the subtle influences that often go unnoticed in our daily lives. With practice, meditators can develop the ability to transcend these influences, accessing higher states of consciousness. Sri Aurobindo in Letters on Yoga explains, "All life is the play of universal forces. The individual gives a personal form to these universal forces, but he can choose whether he shall respond or not to the action of a particular force. Only most people do not really choose. They undergo the play of the forces. Your illnesses, depressions, etc. are the repeated play of such forces. It is only when one can make oneself free of them that one can be the true person and have a true life, but one can be free only by living in the divine. The ordinary man lives in his own personal consciousness, knowing things through his mind and senses, as they are touched by a world which is outside him, outside his consciousness. When the consciousness subtilizes, it begins to come into contact with things in a much more direct way, not only with their forms and outer impacts, but with what is inside them, but still the range may be small. But the consciousness can also widen and begin to be first in direct contact with a universe of range of things in the world, then to contain them as it were, as it is said to see the world in oneself, and to be in a way identified with it. To see all things in the self and the self in all things, to be aware of one being everywhere, aware directly of the different planes, their forces, their beings, that is universalization. To master the forces that shape our lives, we need to recognize them and learn to see them without being drawn into their game. The actions of these forces are often called karma. Karma is not merely about rewards and punishments, but a complex web of actions and consequences that shape our experiences. Every thought, word, and deed contributes to this web, influencing our present and future circumstances and subconscious reactions to them. Sri Aurobindo in Letters on Yoga explains, "All energies put into activity, thought, speech, feeling, act, go to constitute karma. These things help to develop the nature in one direction or another, and the nature and its actions and reactions produce their consequences inward and outward. They also act on others and create movements in the general sum of forces which can return upon oneself sooner or later. Thoughts unexpressed can also go out as forces and produce their effects. It is a mistake to think that a thought or will can have effect only when it is expressed in speech or act. The unspoken thought, the unexpressed will are also active energies and can produce their own vibrations, effects, or reactions. Fundamentally, the meaning of karma is that all existence is the working of a universal energy, a process and an action and a building of things by that action. An unbuilding too, but as a step to farther building. That all is a continuous chain in which every one link is bound indissolubly to the past infinity of numberless links, and the whole governed by fixed relations, by a fixed association of cause and effect, present action. The result of past action as future action will be the result of present action. All cause a working of energy, and all effect, too, a working of energy. The moral significance is that all our existence is a putting out of an energy which is in us and by which we are made, and as is the nature of the energy which is put forth as cause, so shall be that of the energy which returns as effect. that this is the universal law and nothing in the world can, being of and in our world, escape from its governing incidents. To truly transform our lives, we must develop awareness of our inner worlds and subtle energies that influence our daily experiences. By understanding and directing the subtle forces that shape our experiences, we can exert greater influence over our life circumstances, facilitating positive change and transformation. Observing the play of invisible forces and energies within ourselves, the secret of the universe itself is revealed to us. We begin to see that we are not just isolated individuals with our own problems, shortcomings, or set of advantages, but rather part of a universal and unified whole. We discover the interconnectedness of all things, observing the interweaving of personal and collective energies and the harmonious interplay of invisible forces that shape the world around us. This awareness allows us to perceive the underlying unity that binds us all, transcending our individual experiences. Sri Aurobindo, in Letters on Yoga, explains, "It is a mistake to think that we live physically only or only with the outer mind and life. We are all the time living and acting on other planes of consciousness, meeting others there and acting upon them, and what we do and feel and think there. The forces we gather, the results we prepare have an incalculable importance and effect, unknown to us upon our outer life. Not all of it comes through, and what comes through takes another form in the physical, though sometimes there is an exact correspondence. But this little is at the basis of our outward existence. All that we become and do and bear in the physical life is prepared behind the veil within us. It is therefore of immense importance for a yoga which aims at the transformation of life to grow conscious of what goes on within these domains, to be master there and be able to feel, know, and deal with the secret forces that determine our destiny and our internal and external growth or decline. Through the teachings of sages like Sri Aurobindo and practices of various spiritual and philosophical schools and traditions, such as Vedanta, yoga, Buddhism, and many others, we gain the tools and insights necessary to navigate our inner and outer worlds effectively. These spiritual traditions offer diverse methods for developing awareness, cultivating inner mastery, and aligning with higher principles, enabling us to overcome the limitations imposed by the influence of lower forces. By understanding and transcending these forces, we can take control of our destiny and achieve a higher state of consciousness and fulfillment.